And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Well, there are more than 550,000 cattle in the state of Louisiana, according to the LSU Ag Center. And those cattle come from more than 11,000 farms and ranches across the state.
So it goes without saying that the cattle industry is big business that can get people all wound up. That's exactly why about 50 Louisiana Farm Bureau members got on a bus and went to Oklahoma to see how wire gets wound to keep those cattle on their land.
Roy Rogers once sang the words, "Don't fence me in." For these cattle, that's not an option, which is why on the 2018 Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee Beef Tour, Oklahoma Steel and Wire is one of the first stops.
What an unbelievable place. Family operation started in 1978 with 5 employees. Now they're about 600 employees. They turn out 7,000 16-foot cattle panels a day, the mesh wire cattle panels, and they said they're running 30,000 panel orders behind.
Marty Woldridge is the chair of the Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee. It's while on this tour he sees the process of making barbed wire and fences from beginning to end, like an episode of How It's Made.
When you tell me that you're melting down, you're reclaiming junk iron pretty much, you're melting it down and you turn it into a 36-foot rod of steel that's 6 or 8 inches in diameter, and then you keep working it, heating it, and reworking it. When you turn it into almost 31 miles of wire that then gets twisted into barbed wire, unbelievable process.
We're fixing fence every day. As beef producers on this tour, we're either fixing fence, building fence, and we actually get to see the process of how it's made from the point where they smelt the scrap iron down to the finished product.
Mitch Marsalis raises cattle in Claiborne Parish. He watches the web of newly stretched wire spin off the spools into a furnace with bubbling sand to galvanize the wire, then into cooling waters, acid baths, and even pools of molten zinc before being spun, cut, welded, and flipped to make the tools he uses to keep his cattle on his land.
Every time I work on one or build one, I'm going to be thinking about how it's made now.
Amelia Kent is the vice chair of the Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee. It's not just the process of making wire that amazes her, but how the people who work at Oklahoma Steel and Wire built the machines that built the company.
To see how innovative their own processes are, the fact that they build most of their machines in-house. I'd hate to say that we actually take some of their equipment for granted, but when you think about what actually goes into that mesh wire, that net wire, the barbed wire, high tensile wire, we saw so much at that one stop alone. It was fascinating.
We sell scrap iron off our farm. It might actually turn into the barbed wire and the cattle panels that we're buying at the feed store next week that we need on our farm.
This marks the 5th time the Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee organizes a beef tour. Plans are already in the works for the next tour. We did a lot more than just tour Oklahoma Steel and Wire, so I have another story from the tour next week, and we went to one place that you would have absolutely loved with your Angus background, and that was Express Ranch.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, so you saw the 47,000 square foot home of Bob Funk.
Oh yeah. It's very impressive.
It's impressive.
They have their own sale barn that is compete. It's exquisite.
Yep, we went in there, and then we saw the Clydesdale as well, and we'll have a little bit of that coming up next week.
Very cool.
In Grant Parish, agriculture is a $36.7 million industry. According to the LSU Ag Summary, more than half of that comes from the forestry industry.
That's why students in Grant Parish FFA host an Ag Day every year to teach elementary students about the agriculture that surrounds them every day. This week, TWILA's Carl Wiggers shows us how these high school students are bringing the farm and forest to children in their community.
Well, we continue to have this event year after year. Not only is it a tradition in our FFA chapter, I know my sister's like 8 years older than me, and they had this every single year. But more importantly, a tradition for these little kids to really offer them some exposure to broaden their horizons, not only about what we do at the high school when they get older and all the things that they can do, but also through agriculture as a whole. Because maybe at that age they don't realize how big of a deal it is. They just say, well, I have some horses, or I have some cows, or maybe I grow some tomatoes with my mom or dad. But then when you get older, you realize that if they can understand that and grasp that at a younger age, then the potential for them to really make something out of that opportunity is tremendous.
We're trying to help set a foundation for some of these children that have never had an opportunity to get out.
We're looking at a forestry booth that's teaching these young kids about the forestry aspect of their community, and we have an animal booth. We have a wildlife booth back here where they're teaching kids about deer. Have a place here where they're churning butter, and those aren't just need to know type skills. In this rural community, in rural Louisiana, in rural America, that's important education for our students.
It's important for us to impart to these children background information about the things that they eat, the process involved, and I think it's just to help instill in them a work ethic, how you come to what it is that you're eating.
So great, not only for our parish, but for our high school as well. So for our ag department, we're pretty big. We have roughly 300 students in our ag department with 3 ag teachers. And through this, we not only get to show that we're so involved, but also gives a chance for the community to see that and get the kids involved on a kid-friendly atmosphere.
When they say, oh, that's how it happens. And so it's a process of discovery, and when you're seeing them discover something that you have already found out, it's very satisfying.
Something in one of these young child's lives will be unforgettable. They're at the age where they'll be able to remember Ag Day. They definitely won't remember every booth in the rotation, but at some teachable moment, somebody caught them and imprinted something in their brain that will be everlasting.
Now, approximately 230 third graders attended this year's event that was put on by more than 75 FFA students from Grant, Georgetown, and Montgomery high schools.
Celebrity chef Cory is investing in the next generation of chefs. Barr hosted a workshop for 4-H club members in Monroe in hopes of inspiring them not only to become great cooks, but appreciate our homegrown ingredients. TWILA's Tammy Arender was in the kitchen, and if I had to guess, she picked up a few tips herself.
Here we are in the kitchen with celebrated chef Cory Barr, and with him today, 4-Hers from all over Northeast Louisiana, learning at the feet of the master. Of course, Cory's celebrated chef because he has won so many awards for his cooking. He's also been a finalist on Next Food Network Star. He's cooked at the Grammys and for Mick Jagger and other celebrities as well. But what Cory says is his favorite thing is being in the kitchen with young people just like this, those who have a passion for food and a passion for knowing where their food comes from, especially when it comes from Louisiana.
Trying to make everybody understand that we have a big, beautiful state here of Louisiana that's not just New Orleans.
Monroe's award-winning chef Cory Barr shares his passion for cooking with 4-Hers from all over Northeast Louisiana.
You're unwrapping the shrimp, as I like to say.
The culinary workshop is an opportunity for these students to learn some basic cooking skills. Barr hopes they walk away with much more than that.
We have such a bounty at our back door that for these kids not to be aware of it or not know how to cook it, that's just a crime right there. There you go, perfect.
Barr is a self-taught chef, so teaching others comes naturally. He's won numerous awards and accolades for his culinary talents. He was also a finalist on Next Food Network Star.
It's fun to be able to work with somebody of that caliber, but I think that just the expertise and the knowledge he has that he can impart to those kids is just absolutely awesome.
So everybody here like grits?
Lexi McGuffey, a 4-H member at River Oaks High School in Monroe, is eating up the experience. She says she's a huge fan of Barr. McGuffey says she's already got an appreciation for where her food comes from and who grows it.
So that's what we're doing here today, is we're cooking stuff that we have and that we cook and grow.
Take the grits and we dump them in and we stir.
On the menu today, shrimp and grits, a step-by-step demo from peeling the garlic to slicing the celery.
Good, it's delicious.
4-H'er KJ Powell of Lake Providence says he has no plans to cook professionally, but still wanted the chance to learn his way around the kitchen from one of the best.
It would be good to know how to cook this, you know, just at home if you ever want to cook something.
Then we're going to add a little bit more butter.
As mouths water and taste buds start to tingle, Barr is hoping these students will have a real hunger for homegrown ingredients.
For today to be a success for me, it's just them leaving, you know, with some passion, you know, some ideas, and really thinking, you know, I can do this. I can cook seafood.
It's great. In Monroe, I'm Tammy Arnold.
One other reason Cory wanted to teach these students is to hopefully inspire them to compete in the Great American Seafood Cook-Off 4-H edition this summer. If you'd like more information about that event, head over to our website at twilatv.org.
When it comes to eating in Louisiana, seafood is undoubtedly what most people think of first. That's why getting access to fresh seafood daily is vital to keeping our culture and industries alive. TWILA's Neil Melanson went to the Louisiana Fishery Summit to see how a new technique for keeping shrimp fresh is helping to keep shrimpers in business.
You know what they say, a bad day's fishing is better than a good day at the office. Well, it always seems like a good day for fishing in Louisiana, and this fisheries summit at the Pontchartrain Center is working to help keep it that way. To that end, LSU researcher Julie Lively has been working on better ways to help keep shrimp fresh.
The black spot is just, you can see it, you know, here, the shrimp turning black when they're small.
Lively says black spot has been a constant problem, not so much because it affects the shrimp as much as it affects consumer preference. A new method of controlling black spot aims to move away from sulfite dip, which some consumers are allergic to.
So we're trying to help the fishermen all get a better price for their product so that the product can be a better quality, separate out from the import, and be able to help our fishermen thrive in the future.
Of course, shrimp isn't the only feature at the Fishery Summit. It deals with almost every aspect of the industry, from boats to rods and reels. Seminars at the summit are designed to help keep farmers and fishermen better managing their operations. It's all part of an effort to help keep this part of agriculture that has such a connection to another big industry in the state, tourism.
Now they've got a drilling rig, a jackup rig at Britton Sound. You can go live like you live in offshore on an oil rig and catch some fish. Those are things you can't do anywhere else in the world. So working with our farmers, our fishermen, and trying to come up with unique ways for them to add some money to their pot and create a new opportunity for tourism.
Wildlife and Fisheries just reopened the offshore shrimping season this past week. The inshore season will be decided at their upcoming May 3rd meeting. And guys, if you look at the shrimp back here, that's what shrimp normally look like when you bring them out, when you harvest them. That pink color is developed, and that, you know, that's really the issue there that's that we're facing so much in many of these industries, is the sort of, you know, post-production look to it, that flavor. You know, hot dogs, for instance, are gray, and they have to be colored to the color that we're normally
I would not.
Many people would not eat a gray hot dog. Well, most people wouldn't eat gray shrimp. They want to see that pink color, and so this black spot issue and the uses of sulfides or these other compounds is a really big deal, because it is a lot of value add to this product.
But so much has really changed in the shrimping industry just in the last 10 years or so. You know, I remember going out to Sippermore Point and watching the shrimp boats come in and folks selling their catch. Now they're able to freeze it right there on the boat, which is with those plate freezers. It's absolutely amazing how the industry's changing.
Yeah, and you could see those technologies and so much more. I mean, it touches on so many aspects there at the Pontchartrain Center. You saw all that on display, and so, you know, we, you know, it's a really vital industry regardless of how they bring it in, and so it's something I think we need to cover more.
Well, it's a really interesting story, and thanks for bringing it to us, Neil Melanson. Well, the farm-to-table movement is certainly growing more popular, but lately there's been a few growing pains.
Yeah, the Holly Grove market, which you've seen here on TWILA in New Orleans, recently closed down, stranding consumers looking for farm-fresh products. Some farmers and consumers are looking to keep that connection alive, though. Here at Second Line Brewing, an event called Meet Your Farmer was put together to make that connection happen. The aim of the meetup was to inform consumers in urban New Orleans how they can get fresh food from farmers in the region. The direct connection not only gets them their food, but provides a means of learning about how that food is grown. One of those farmers, Grant Estrade of the aptly named Local Cooling Farms, says farmers he knows would like to sell directly to the public.
My personal view is I'm really focused on families, right, or people who are cooking at home. Yes, I love the farm to table, white tablecloth experience. I think that's one set of experiences, but I think, family with a couple kids or just somebody living by themselves, they have more potential. I think as a group they have more buying power than the restaurants do.
The event was sponsored in part by the Louisiana Grazing Lands Coalition, which is doing a bus tour in May of many farms in southeast Louisiana. We'll have more on that in a future show, but you can find out more information right now on our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, we show you why forestry remains Louisiana's #1 agricultural industry.
But first, honoring those in ag who have committed their lives to the industry. Stay with us.
There are 2 new members of the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction, Margie Yates Jenkins and Pierre Pete Leno.
The event is sponsored in part by the Louisiana Farm Bureau and Louisiana Radio Network. As Craig Gautreaux shows us, this was a special year with the first female inducted into the hall.
Margie Yates Jenkins and Pierre Pete Leno came from 2 different backgrounds, but they shared a common passion, a love for agriculture. Their commitment to their chosen careers led to both being inducted into the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction.
The agriculture industry is vital to Louisiana and our economy, and it doesn't get as much recognition as it should or deserves. So this is kind of our small attempt to recognize people who need some recognition and deserve it.
Leno grew up in New Orleans, but it was the allure of growing sugarcane that drew him away from the bright lights of the city. He passed away in February at the age of 93, less than 6 weeks before his induction.
When he went out there as a kid in his early 20s with his father, he just loved it from the get-go. Probably something that just clicked within him, and it stayed with him for his whole life.
Jenkins was born in St. Tammany Parish in 1921. She is well known for her cultivation of native plants, especially azaleas. She took a horticulture course in her 50s that made her realize that growing plants from seedlings and cuttings was her calling.
After I took that course, I knew without a doubt that my love was for growing. And the part of it I liked the best was the propagation part of it, trying to root things and then selecting out seedlings that were superior.
My grandmother's determination and successful propagation skills within the grain industry are undisputed. But when you start unpeeling the layers, I mean, it's sheer hard work and determination.
At 96, Jenkins still drives to work and makes daily tours of the nursery in her golf court to see how the plants are doing. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
The Hall of Distinction is a collaborative effort among the LSU Ag Center, the Louisiana Radio Network, Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation, and the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry. Well, news of new jobs and new opportunities in forestry created some buzz among industry leaders during this year's annual Forestry Forum.
TWILA's AJ Sabine shows us how the forum yielded plenty of valuable information for those interested in Louisiana's #1 cash crop.
For Jim Stemple with Drex Biomass, it's all about the future. At this Forestry Forum, folks listen carefully as Stemple outlines the wood pellet maker's plans for expanding the timber market in LaSalle Parish.
As a lot of folks in this area know, IP Pineville, when it closed, that really hurt the local economy in a big way. So we're filling in that space. Now that's the direct impact. Indirectly, you've got all these loggers that are employed again. They've got truck drivers that work for them that are employed again. So logging crews, truck drivers, they're stopping at the local gas stations, little diners and restaurants or whatever, the burger barns, the fish houses, etc. So you get this even further effect on what we call the indirect economic impact that goes out even farther.
But that's not the only good news. LSU Ag Center Extension Forester Robbie Hutchins says a new lumber mill in Urania is set to open by the end of the year.
This opens up an area for forest landowners to market their timber in an area where markets had closed down. So this is very exciting for forest landowners and foresters and logging contractors. It provides jobs, it provides economic markets for timber.
Hutchins explains that this forum provides an information exchange not only for forest landowners, but for consumers as well.
Things like a local market becoming available for landowners to sell their timber actually keeps the prices of forest products lower, because you don't have the extra transportation costs involved in the final price of the product.
Leaders here also got the final word on recent changes to the tax code from a specialist, Paul Spillers.
There are some changes that are good, but there are more that are bad.
Tell us about that.
The ones that are so bad that I think is going to require us to really focus on. If you are an investor in timberland, you will no longer be able to deduct your expenses. Those investment expenses are not going to be deductible unless you have an active trade or business. So a lot of investors who are kind of passive investors will have to become more active and conduct their business as a business, not just a passive investment.
The annual Cenla Forestry Forum fuels the marketplace of ideas for forestry professionals as well as consumers. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm A.J. Sabine.
According to the LSU Ag Center, forestry and forestry products generated nearly $11 billion in output for Louisiana. That's if you include all of the jobs created by the industry. For more information about forestry, head over to our website at twilatv.org.
Still to come on TWILA, the Easter Bunny takes to the air.
It's an egg drop like no other. Stay with us. Now it's time for this week's Trending on TWILA, where we go online to see what you guys were talking about on social media.
From Easter egg hunts to blooming azaleas, spring has certainly sprung on social media this week. And in rural Louisiana, Easter looks just a little different on the farm. In Cottonport, Louisiana, Easter egg hunters looked up to the sky as this Pawnee Brave crop duster plane dropped eggs for children in the area.
John Compton posted some great videos from Bobby and Melissa Morris's annual Easter extravaganza in West Baton Rouge Parish. Crop dusters delivered showers of eggs by air, and the Easter Bunny paraded across the levee in the cab of a John Deere tractor. John said the event offers Easter fun for all ages every year, free of charge. And I went to the first one of these with Luke whenever he was so little. The plane scared him, and we were hoping to go this year. However, Logan woke up like at 3:45 that morning. Yeah, cranky baby. That would have been a bad idea, but it is a great event. It shows children agriculture pretty up close and in a different setting.
Well, it looked like there were a ton of kids there on the levee from the videos that John posted. And I was wondering, is Bobby the one who flies the plane?
No, Bobby is not the one who flies the
I
plane.
was
He's too
curious.
busy doing other stuff all around. Not only that, if Bobby were flying the plane, I think Melissa would try to push him out. Just saying, just saying.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that one. So we're going to move on to this week's trending trivia. Last time our question was, which state has the most farms and ranches in America? And the correct answer is B, good old Texas. This week's trivia question is, which common flower produces highly poisonous nectar and leaves? Is it A, the azalea, B, rose, or C, orchid? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILATrivia, or you can always submit your answer on our website at twilatv.org.
That does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you how a special program to raise cattle in Oklahoma is helping grow better beef here in Louisiana.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.